Pitch match area right now, my friends, here at GP Copenhagen. It is time for our semi-finals. What's up, nerds? Welcome along to the semi-finals here at GP Copenhagen. You're in the booth with me. It's Riley Knight, and joining me, my good friend and colleague Simon Goertzen, the Pro Tour champion. We have Tobias Maurer and Javier Dominguez. Smiles on the faces of both these players. They're just happy to be here, but of course we've still got a trophy to give away, Simon. We've already had a brief chat about the lists, both mono red, aggro, and white blue approach, seeing them throughout the weekend. And as we head into this matchup, Simon, who have you got your eye on as an early favourite?
Well, Tobias is mono red aggro, and he's on the play, and he has a bomber courier. He is the favorite. I think especially how this is looking to shape up, but I think Javier Dominguez, much more experienced player. He's known for playing aggro decks himself, but I think he can maneuver this white blue approach deck very well.
His hand looking a little clunky. Got a lot of 4-drops in there, but there is a seal away, so that's going to be a good answer to one of these attackers next turn. What are we targeting here? Just go after the courier?
It's not so easy, and he's also holding an Essence Scatter, so something that you might see here is him first deciding whether he wants to Essence Scatter something, and then deciding on the seal away.
Looks like the Essence Scatter just going to take out a haste creature before combat. So Maurer now in for 4. Another card goes under the Bomat Courier. And looks like we're going to see damage resolved now. Although I didn't see Maurer put a card under the Courier there. I think he may have missed the trigger.
But he pointed to it, and this was just after he had put the monkey into play, so that's a bit confusing to me.
Confusing to me in that he reached for a pen to maybe adjust the life totals, and maybe by that point the trigger had been missed. It looked like I mean, there's a judge standing by, so there's not going to be any kind of a prolonged disagreement about how this situation resolved itself. But from what I can see, it looks like he was just a little bit too hasty in getting through that combat step.
That's how the mono red aggro mages operate.
Oh yeah, all speed, all speed.
It might not be relevant. It might be that the Bomat Courier is getting exiled anyway. But Javier, interesting line here. Doesn't exile either of these creatures, but he doesn't have much going on in his hand. Interesting.
Earthshaker Kenra now the play here for Tobias Maurer, running it back after last turn, and gets in with all the clowns now. Dominguez action, his hand is almost certainly forced here. Got some triggers on the stack for Maurer, both a Ragavan and the Bomat Courier here. And it's going to be a seal away in response to that trigger. And now we'll see if Maurer is going to exile a card. He does need to here. Yes. So there we go. 3 cards ultimately exiled to the Bomat Courier. But Dominguez taking a bit of a pasting here. He's taking 5. Slides the monkey out of the battlefield. And it's back to the Spaniard. Settle the wreckage. There we go. That's what he needed, Simon.
Exactly. Now he has something to deal, especially with that carry left. That was a huge pain for him, because whenever you let her attack, you're taking this extra damage from the monkey. And of course, in game 1, we're not concerned about fight with fire or anything like that.
Maurer carefully playing around, settle the wreckage now. But this gives Javier Dominguez a little bit more breathing room, and he's going to resolve a Glimmer of Genius. But Lightning Strike up top, and does Maurer have a second one? No. All right, just going to poke in for 3 while he can. And this, I think, more or less prizes Dominguez into casting Settle next turn.
Yes, it does. I would have liked to see Maurer let Javier resolve Glimmer of Genius and then cast the Lightning Strike.
Ah, yes, not to give him the information.
Yeah, it's a tiny difference, but now Javier knows that he's on 3 and can make use of that information while scrying already.
Irrigated farmland coming down for Dominguez. He only needs 4 mana this turn. He is going to survive, you would think, unless Maurer found another Lightning Strike off the top of the library. Odd to see Lightning Strike as an inclusion in red decks these days. Often it tends to be relegated to the... well, I mean, in favour of things like a Braid and Magma Spray, but Shock goes straight upstairs. And now Dominguez is going to his sideboard after Maurer locks it up very, very quickly and comfortably there, Simon.
Yep, that was quite an easy game for him. Dominguez had a slow draw, very reactive, but not even the right answers at the right time.
Really interested to see how this mono red aggro deck that Mara's put together is very much full on aggro. We don't see copies of Magma Spray to go after the opposing Scrap Heap Scroungers. Obviously, there is a Braid. The card's too good not to play. But 3 Lightning Strike, and 3 Shock means that Mara actually has a fair bit more reach than we're accustomed to seeing.
Yes, and that's why Approach of the Second Sun can be so valuable, so that you don't just get burned out after you've stabilized.
So both these players going to hit the sideboards. Let's have a look at what they're working with. Dominguez has some critical cards he'll be looking to rely on in post-board games.
Exactly, and the dynamic that I want to mention here is that Dominguez brings in 2 Lyra Dawnbringer. Now, the only way to deal with that card without getting card disadvantage is to use Fight with Fire. And Fight with Fire from Tobias Mauer's sideboard, he only has 2, I've seen most lists play 3, is actually pretty amazing when you're getting your creatures Settle the Wreckage. Because then suddenly you can kick it and deal up to 10 damage to the blue-white control player.
While these players are sideboarding, however, we are going to move on and have a look at our backup table between Francisco Sanchez and Tim Koenke. Koenke playing in his first ever GP. He's made it all the way to the semi-finals, so not a bad conversion rate for Koenke here. Looks like some prowess triggers going onto the stack with this Lightning Strike pointed at the Rekindling Phoenix, and Koenke's looking to get in for a bunch of damage here. Sanchez under the gun. If Koenke has another, something like a shock, he might be able to win the game on the spot here.
Yep, prowess is quite the ability.
So in comes the 0/1 elemental token, and Koenke attacking with a trio of 2/3s.
And Koenke, of course, has to be aggressive here. You don't want to play a long game against the Rekindling Phoenix, and he's also leveraging his life total advantage.
Sanchez on 8, facing down 6 damage. Going to have to chuck this Bomat Courier under the bus. It'd be unfortunate to have to throw the Elemental under that very same bus, or not really, a different bus on the same route, I guess. And now 4 damage comes across. Sanchez going to get back his Phoenix, but is it going to be enough here, Simon?
If Sanchez really goes to 4 here, I don't think he can win. I think he needs to spend a removal spell on one of these mages. He might now be realizing that maybe a Braid is not a safe choice anymore.
So
because
instead,
then he would be dead to a shock.
Instead, it will be an unlicensed disintegration. Better use of his mana as well, and ensuring that there's no chicanery there with that Soulscar Mage. Back to Sanchez now. His opponent on 16, not looking great for him. On 13. Okay, got those life totals updated now. Sanchez on 6. Well, maybe a little bit more breathing room for Sanchez than we first imagined.
Only took 2 points of damage there. And suddenly, this race is looking pretty nice for Sanchez. Sanchez can actually decide here to hold back the Phoenix and just ask Koenke what his plan is against the recurring threat. Or go into a race. Attack for 6 here does look quite promising as well.
Koenke with the advantage when it comes to life total, but Sanchez comes with the advantage when it comes to the board. He's ahead with both creatures, mana. I think same number of cards in hand, but these 1/2s looking embarrassing in the face of the Rekindling Phoenix. Maybe Koenke can stitch together some more non-creature spells, trigger prowess, get some more damage in, but
some more burn spells, but we know he doesn't have shock. I think shock would have been cast already.
Oh yeah, he would have taken that Phoenix out once and for all by removing the egg there.
Maybe Koenke actually had to play it bit more conservative, just sit on the Lightning Strike and wait for a better moment, because it looks like now his offense is just fizzling out.
Sanchez paying respect to the threat of the 1/2 getting in there with a cut to ribbons, and that's bad news for Koenke as well, because that ribbons at the moment represents 3 damage out of the bin.
Yeah, which makes Rekindling Phoenix lethal.
So Koenke needs something here. What's in his hand? I can see a Bomat Courier.
There is a Rekindling Phoenix in his hand. If he plays that, he has a blocker for the opposing Phoenix, and we might enter a weird kind of standoff.
Dueling Phoenices. Let's see how he wants to play it here. Solskjaer Mage in for 1, and now here is the Phoenix. But Sanchez has the answer to that as well with a Braid.
And that's game with ribbons in the graveyard.
Yeah, that means that the Rekindling Phoenix can sail over in the air uncontested, and Francisco Sanchez poised to take this one out because, of course, ribbons in the bin is going to burn him out, burn Kernke out for the final 3 points of damage.
He only needs to remember it. I think he already pointed to it, so Kernke is conceding.
An impressive victory from Francisco Sanchez. Seemed to be under a lot of pressure with that triple Solskjaer Mage draw from Tim Kernke, but ultimately well-leveraged removal, pressure where it was needed to be applied, and walks away with the W as a result. So good stuff from Sanchez. And
I really enjoy watching these matchups because it's always very close and very much going into a racing situation, but then the player that is taking the right moment to strike is usually the one to win.
We'll move back to table number 1 now. As you can see, these guys all already well and truly underway. Dominguez snapping off a Hazard the Fervent. Wessenscatter there to keep the board as clear as possible. Just a lone Solskjaer Mage. And Dominguez on turn 5 with 17 life, facing Glorybringer. Well, he's in a good spot.
What did Tobias do turns 2 and 3? Did he just not cast anything? Because I don't see anything in his graveyard. I don't see an exile zone of any kind.
And this is just fantastic for Dominguez. Maura plays the Glorybringer, doesn't attack with it because he's afraid of Settle the Wreckage, and then Javier Dominguez just blinks it, draws a card. Dominguez is looking fantastic here. Now we're going to see a different play pattern. We're going to see Irrigated Farmland cycle after this Glorybringer is sent in, and Settle the Wreckage. Ultimately, Maura right to play around it, but he's paying the price. Dominguez was just on easy street for that last couple of turns there.
Easily handling everything. Now, if you can imagine an approach of the second Sun or a Teferi coming down.
Yeah, that'd just more or less lock it up. I mean, Maura does have another 4/4 haster in hand. Second copy of Glorybringer hanging out there for Maura.
And Glorybringer is one of the weaker threats in this particular matchup because there are so many answers.
It's just like a bad Stormbreath Dragon, right?
Yeah, but more importantly, it's worse than Hazard, worse than Chandra.
Mm-hmm. So another Glorybringer now for Maura. Looks like this one's going to resolve and get ready to rumble. Look, Dominguez with the answer as well. He had a copy of Disallow, but he's happy enough to let the Dragon get busy. Negate off the top for Dominguez. He has 5 mana, and it's going to be Teferi. So untapping 2 lands, going to take Dominguez back up to 5 mana. That means he's got 2 counter spells available. But Simon, what's his plan against the Glorybringer here?
I can't see his hand right now, but I think he really wants that Disallow for any kind of Chandra shenanigans or similar cards like that. And he knows that his deck has many, many ways to deal with the Glorybringer.
So Maura.
Even a Seal Away would do the job.
Maura with what looks like, well, can see an Earthshaker Kenra in there. Might have a Soulscar Mage or 2 tucked away in the hand as well. We'll get a better look at this.
I think Javier is actually holding another Settle the Wreckage, so by not casting it last turn, he might be baiting Tobias into a more aggressive attack this turn.
Teferi, of course, untapping those 2 lands to make sure Dominguez has access to at least 4 mana. Oh, look at this. All in. All in. Shoves the chips into the middle of the table now, and Dominguez has the answer. Settle that wreckage, he says. Maura goes and gets 3 lands, but that is poor compensation for the losses he's just sustained, Simon.
Yep. Javier playing that really neatly, using the right tools for the right job, settle the wreckage for all these creatures. Now he still has a permission for a potential kicked fight with fire. He's on 12, used his life tool as a resource there a little bit. And honestly, these Soulscar Mages are not looking particularly strong.
Not looking too good here for Maura. He needs something special off the top. I mean, if he had something like a fight with fire...
That would be a good start.
Yeah.
It wouldn't resolve, but it would be...
but it'd be fun to
start.
kick and put on the stack. It'd at least pump up those Soulscar Mages. But Maura does have to draw pretty well from here on out. 6 mana now for Dominguez. 8 mana even. Is this going to be a massive walking ballista? Yep. Going to mow down those creatures, I would say. No? Okay. Well, that's interesting here. Dominguez with the option to just clear the board. Opts not to take that, however. Would you take an 8 mana Wrath of God just now?
I think that was a reasonable line to take. Maybe Javier expected an instant in response anyway. So he would rather just threaten the block here and force Tobias to make the first move.
I think did Maura even have a hard card in hand?
Oh, I thought he was holding some cards.
Okay. Well, in that case, then that makes sense. But I think he's just on one card, so no. Okay. Anyway, Teferi up to 7 loyalty, draws another card. It's cast out. So joining a second Teferi in hand in addition to a disallow. So a bit of counter magic going on in Dominguez's hand. Putting a counter on the Walking Ballista. And in response, we'll see an Abrade.
Which puts 2 prowess triggers on the stack.
So in response now, both of those Soulscar Mages are going to go down to the Ballista. And Dominguez untaps 2 lands, and Tobias picks up all of his. And we're going to game number 2 there. Dominguez, I really like the way that his toolbox approach to that match, or that game I should say, really took him across the line. Ultimately, he had the cards that he needed in every situation to answer the questions his opponent was putting on the table. Exactly,
and talking about what to put on the table, Soulscar Mage, to me, seems like one of the worst cards to have in that matchup after sideboarding, because it just runs into Settle the Wreckage, it only attacks for 1, and you're even taking out a lot of your interactive spells. So Prowess is not as good as in game 1.
Because, of course, you're bringing in Glory Bringers, maybe you're bringing in... I mean, something like a Chandra can still trigger the...
but it's just,
Mage, but
it's just very unexciting.
It's very bad, I think. Very, very bad indeed. Because it's not about that. It's about going bigger in post-board games, getting him down to 10 and then just burning him out with Fight with Fire if you can. That's always a nice way to do it. But Dominguez is going to do everything he can to prevent that from happening. Now, we didn't see anything like History of Benalia or Lyra Dawnbringer in that matchup, although Dominguez did draw a Negate, which I imagine we're bringing in extra copies of Negate here for sure.
Against mono red, it's not as clear cut as against red black, because you don't know about you don't have Heart of Karen and Duress as additional targets. If you know about this particular sideboard with the 3 Chandras and the Fight with Fire plan, probably yes. I don't know if you want all 3 though.
Okay.
It is something that can be stuck in your hand.
Okay, all right, that checks out for sure. Well, the Walking Ballista's got good use there by Dominguez, taking care of those 1/2s early on, or late on in the piece, I should say.
If you're bringing in Lyra Dawnbringer, Negate also gains a lot of value.
Just to protect her.
Yep. Yeah. Just on 7, cast Lyra and have a Negate open.
Well, let's talk a little bit about what Maura is working with in his board, because as we said, Glory Bringers, Chandras, I mean, he's playing 6 different cards in his sideboard in comparison to Tim Kernker, who is playing a very pleasing straight 3-3-3-3-3. We can see what Maura is working with, though. He's got a couple of 2-ofs and a couple of 3-ofs there. Aethersphere Harvester, Fight with Fire, and Pianalar as 2-ofs. Pianalar in the board is an interesting one, Simon.
Yeah, super interesting, and I would bring her in for sure. I think how many is it? 5, 10 cards on the right of Tobias Maura's sideboard, he should all bring in.
So everything from Chandra, Fight with Fire, Glory Bringer, and Pianalar, because there are plenty of cards to take out. We'll get those Soulscar Mages out of here.
I would just throw all of the Soulscar Mages out, and then with your removal spells, you kind of have to decide which ones you still want to keep. Probably Lightning Strike is the best of the bunch, because it deals 3 to the face, but can also kill your own Rekindling Phoenix.
White-blue decks tend not to play too many copies of Torrential Gearhulk in comparison to something like white-black. And when you're playing with known information, these players do have access to opposing deck lists, then it's very clear Abrade probably coming out, hitting the bench. But right now we're heading to the final game between these 2 players here. Seal Away taking care of a second copy of Kari Zev here, Simon.
The Legend Rule not a problem, and that's a better cards than in game 2.
Ragavan the Monkey has made a departure now after Chandra Torture Defiance comes down. And Dominguez, has he missed a land drop here?
He missed his 4th land drop.
Geez, so his percentage points are just spiraling out of control now in the downwards direction. I think it's fair to say. And Lyra Dawnbringer in hand, adding insult to injury, not able to cast the 5-drop that might lock up the game, and now a Syncopate. Oh dear, looks like he has to... No, 7 cards in hand. All right. Rough stuff for Dominguez, though. Chandra up to 7. So after a nice bit of early interaction, Maura looks very ready to run away with this one here.
That looked very easy. Threat, answer, Chandra, no answer, no land. That's just what this Planeswalker does. Also 4 abilities.
Seal Away now on the Bomat Courier. No cards for... Maura to cash in just yet.
Javier is still on a healthy life total. If he has a land and a cast out,
can't find it. This is
But
tragic.
I think he doesn't even have an answer to Chandra, to be honest.
He's got to settle the wreckage, but look at this. A Chandra ultimating very, very quickly. This means 5 damage going to the dome. If this is a Glory Bringer as well, that represents 9 damage. In addition to the mage there, we're going to see a syncopate on the Glory Bringer. Even with that resolving, Dominguez still takes 5, down to 5 damage now after the Soulscar Mage, and that is enough for Tobias Maurer to find his way into the final of GP Copenhagen. He can't believe his luck. Dominguez, of course, commiserations to the Spanish superstar, who gave a good account of himself, but ultimately you live by the cards and you die by the cards, and an awkward draw there for Dominguez. Not able to find that 4th land and leverage his cards, Simon, but a good performance from him nonetheless, adding another line to the resume there, another GP top 8.
No, I mean it's another top 4 GP performance. Not something you have to be ashamed of.
And also, I guess, a trip to the next Pro Tour. He'll be very happy with that. We're going to head over now to our next semi-final, our final semi-final between Francisco Sanchez and Tim Koernke. We saw Sanchez get up in game number 1. He looks to be under a little bit more pressure now on 12 life, but a Chandra Torch of Defiance active for him and Koernke with nothing doing apart from a carry Zev crewing up that Aethersphere Harvester. Let's see what Sanchez has to say about that. Oh, it's an Hour of Glory. Sanchez firmly in control of this game, it would seem, Simon.
Yes, of course. The player with an active Chandra is generally favored in this kind of matchup, although sometimes the Planeswalker is not that great because of all the haste threats that are pressuring her.
So now, Francisco Sanchez is going to tick up Chandra to 6 loyalty. Have a look at the top card, and it is Carry Zev, the Skyship Captain. Sanchez not interested in that one. Obviously got other plans for that mana, and we're going to see Glory Be. Here is the Hasty Dragon coming again to live up to its name. Flying Crocodile, exerting to remove the Skyship Captain. And this one, we're just going through the motions here. What can Koernke find?
Land and fight with fire? No, there's not really anything. If the game has progressed to this kind of stage,
it's going to be all over Red Rover here, and Francisco Sanchez, oh, he can smell it on the wind, Simon. That GP final appearance here as Chandra goes upstairs again. Aethersphere Harvester. Well, maybe Sanchez is interested in casting this one. No, he's not. Declines and sends Koernke down to 9, and another Glory Bringer explains that decision here. So, in for another couple of points. In for 6 now. Koernke on 3. He needs something spectacular off the top of his library. Doesn't find it, extends the hand, and Francisco Sanchez powers into the final of GP Copenhagen. I have to say, credit where credit is due for Koernke there. His first GP making it to the semi-finals. Well, I imagine he's only going to improve on that in his second, Simon.
Super impressive performance by him all weekend. Kept up his good play. And yeah, he's going to go home and tell his friends, these GPs are really easy.
Yeah, super easy.
I should play more of them.
I'm going to play more of them because, yeah, wow, it just ain't no thing. Ain't no thing to make a semi-final appearance. That is just about that for me and Simon, my friends. But, of course, the party don't stop till cops kick the door in, and we are going to have Tim Willoughby and Joel Larson rounding this thing out and putting it to bed. The finals of GP Copenhagen are coming your way. Simon, before we depart, thank you so much for your company this weekend. It really has been a pleasure, as always, to work with you. And, of course, to the viewers around the world, wherever you are, thanks for tuning in and suffering. Well, the silly nonsense that has come out of Simon's mouth and my high-level analysis, it's certainly been a great pleasure. We've got to go to a break, my friends. On the other side of this, the final of GP Copenhagen coming your way. We'll see you back here in Denmark after this.